So what's the primary message you're trying to convey to these boosters on this tour?
Really just update the off season. Obviously you have new coaches, new coordinators. We're going to have probably over 40 new players that'll be joining the program, high school transfers, and so just give them a little insight to all the different events throughout the off season. Spring practice, the winter program, and everything for us is pointing towards August 30th. So just kind of giving an update.
You've talked about summer workouts, but also summer's big for recruiting, official visits. How big is this time just for the future of the program?
No, it's recruiting is always a part of it, and you go through the spring evaluation period, which coaches are on the road these last few weeks, and now with it being a contact, it really is it's kind of accelerated a little bit more the relationship building. There was as you go through, just some of the changes in recruiting over the last few years. I really like the fact that now coaches in the spring can get down, get in front of families, these kids, getting a better sense of who they are, because as you get into the summer, and the official visits, it's a dead sprint, and then you go from the end of the summer visits, and a lot of kids at this stage are committing in the summer before they go into the senior year, and then you have the stretch of the season to continue to build it, and obviously identify and fill any needs that you might have.
Obviously, the House settlement is still trying to work its way out to being finalized. How has that whole process affected the traditional recruiting calendar for you?
It doesn't necessarily affect the calendar as much. It's you have to have a plan. Because it is something that I feel everybody feels that this is heading towards. So you have a plan of things you need to be prepared for. Roster, obviously any addition, subtraction. I know there's been roster counts that have kind of gone back and forth that's been discussed, but you always try to be one step ahead, as best as possible. But really it's more just planning for what is expected, and then obviously if anything changes, then you adapt and adjust.
League meetings just ended. New financial distribution model. What kind of place you think the league is in now?
I'm excited about our situation. The steps that have taken place within the ACC. I do think is it's competitive. It's something that's going to where schools get to go out there and if you choose to challenge yourself in scheduling and play in the showcase games, which we've been accustomed to. You're here at Florida State. I think it puts us in a position to obviously benefit financially, but also to close the gap that there was, and we've pushed at a very high level, just within an athletic program department and athletic program, but for us to be able to bridge that gap through those opportunities, I think it's huge for Florida State, and obviously it's great for the ACC.
Did you?
Matt mentioned.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the House settlement with crazy numbers being thrown around for rosters and upwards of 30 and 40 million. Is there a right number of capped money, outside money, things like that to build a roster? Has that changed for you guys?
Well, I think when you look at for everything that we're hearing, and when it comes to if there the cap and how that will be, and then for any of the outside third party deals where there would be really I'd say checks and balances in a sense of to what those deals are, and obviously guys will be able to go out there and earn whatever opportunities can be provided, but to be able to have a little bit of understanding through Deloitte and what they will do, it's going to be I think it will be still up to each each football program, each athletic department to where they disperse and those funds. But it definitely will bring everything I think to a more comparable situation based off the university, but just big picture as within college athletics, I think it'd be a good thing.
So you expect it to have more parity across the sport?
Am I understanding you right? Yeah, I think it will. I think there's been some extremes and that have shown up, and obviously, as you look at this, if the cap, if and when the cap goes through the settlement, I think it is something that there will always be strategic ways to be able to go about how you utilize resources, but I definitely think it's going to be it will be a good dynamic for college football, because there will be some teams that that maybe didn't have access to things on the outside that they can now choose to push in whatever area they choose to invest in. So I'm excited to see where it goes and what it can be.
To kind of go off of like building rosters, recruiting, all that kind of stuff, you see schools consistently recruit at a top 10 level with their budget and all stuff. It's been a while since Florida State's been up there. Is that a goal for you to be top 10, or is that just like you would rather have the right kids for your program coming in?
No, I mean, you always want to get the best that you can get at each position that fit your program. Yes, you're always trying to push to be better. You want to be competing at an elite level there nationally, and it's something that we're pushing for. Finding the balance of whether it's whatever the year calls for, high school to transfer, to be able to address needs. I think that's one of the bigger dynamics when you look at college football as a whole. Just how rosters how much movement there's been in rosters over the last few years. You got to be able to pick and choose. I mean, there's plenty of ways that you can push your numbers in recruiting, and there's ways that we got to be able to find what is the best, what is the right fit for our team at that time, and what it is for short term, and what are you looking for it to be long term. And we have it's a very strategic plan, and there's a lot of conversations that go in, and just to make sure that we're addressing our roster at the current spot, but also with eyes for the future.
With recruiting,
Go ahead.
With recruiting, you've made some staff changes. Have you noticed any positive changes, negative changes? Just what have you been most impressed with, maybe with the differences in recruiting? I know it's 6 months in. But.
Yeah, I mean, I think all parts of it. I mean, it's I'm excited about this staff. I'm excited about the direction of this staff, and really how they've how they've went about the recruiting process and identifying guys that we feel like we need, building the right relationships, make sure we're doing the things necessary to put ourselves in position, because in all reality, there's when you have the changes that we've had, there's an infusion of excitement around our program, and there's still those opportunities to be able to continue to build, and for kids to see how that's going to translate, out on the field, and whether it was spring practice, winter program, we really had great feedback and response for the people that were on campus, and then a lot of excitement for what the summer is going to be, and obviously for everybody to be able to see this fall as it all takes place.
Tommy Castellanos hasn't been shy about saying he believes he's the leader that this team needed. What kind of a leader has he become?
I think Tommy's done a great job coming in. He's really, he's a guy that ignites those that are around him, and he is. He was the first commitment we had, of transfers that, there in December, and he immediately moved to Tallahassee, was around as much as he could be around, with guys coming in, just kind of sharing, his perspective, building those relationships, and then, even from the first day of guys coming on campus, whether it was returning players, whether it was, guys that were newcomers, just the investment to connect. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you step on the field, you got to go do it. You got to, all the talking sounds good, but, what are you going to do? What are you willing to, to pour in? I think it's one of the things that Tommy's done a great job in, is that, he's spent the time in getting to know these guys, and when he gets out on the field, he's pushing himself to be the hardest worker that he can be, to be able to pour in his teammates, to push and uphold a standard that we have, and that of what we desire here, moving forward in this 25 season.
What will the competition be like in that room going forward? You had a freshman obviously come in and played well in the spring.
No, I'm excited about the room. You got Brock Glenn. You obviously talking about Tommy. You got Brock Glenn. That's a guy that has early experience in his career. Sometimes a few of those experiences he got really thrown into some challenging situations. But he's grown through it all, and I think that he's playing as fast and as confident as he has since he's been here. He's really adapted well to Coach Malzahn coming in and the things that he's being asked to do. Kevin Sperry, I think, is a really special talent as well. A guy that we're excited about, and so those guys are going to compete every day to try to push to be the best that they can be. And I feel very confident about where that quarterback room is, but they got to continue to elevate each other each and every day.
Joey was asking about Tommy's intangibles. What about just his physical skills that have kind of jumped out to you after having him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got great arm talent. He can he can throw on rhythm, can throw on time. When things break down or if he gets out on the edge, I mean, he can obviously extend plays. He's very athletic, but he's a guy that can keep his eyes down the field. And if somebody breaks, pops open. If guys are not sticking to their men in coverage, then he can definitely expose them. But then as if you give him space, he can definitely make you pay. We've seen that live and in person. Having to compete against him, but he's really done a nice job as he's grown. In really being a complete quarterback.
I know you're competitive and you want to win every game anyway, but with how last year went, have you felt any more pressure personally because of the results?
I mean, it's for me, it's every day is trying to be the absolute best that we can be, and I don't to say that there's more pressure, less pressure. I mean, it's I've always put everything that I have into every day, practice, game. I mean, so I mean, there's not. Really a heightened sense other than just wanting to be better than what I've ever been in as a coach, as leading a team and the team that we're going to put on the field. So that expectation has never changed, and sometimes the results have been elite and sometimes the results have been extremely disappointing. But you go through each of those experiences and you have to grow and you have to get better and then you got to push forward. And so no, there's not going to be any outside expectations ever been bigger than what my expectations are, and you go about each day, just with everything that you have to go be the best you can be.
What's Gus enabled you to do, having him there? Was he taken on your plate or taken off your plate?
Well, I mean, he's one of the best offensive minds in this game, and when you can take. Not only a guy that knows how to call plays, and obviously has had great success, but the leader of men. I mean, he's really been able to dial in his focus. You have a guy that's been a head coach for a long time, and now being able to have his kind of sole focus there on the offensive side. You're seeing him. Building those relationships has been great. And for me, it allows me to be able to make sure that I'm addressing, whether it's every department, every position, be able to meet our players at the needs that they have. I was able to have probably more one-on-one, just connecting, times with our players, throughout the spring than maybe any time I've ever been as a head coach. And so just being able, but on the flip side of it, I think being a college football player now is there's more pulling at players than there's ever been. I think it's the hardest time in the history of the game to play college football. Everybody points to guys, getting paid and all the benefits of it, but there comes a lot of challenges for a player, and just the number of people that try to get at them, the number of different things that are pulling at their personal time, their the focus, social media, all the different dynamics, and so being able to help meet guys at where they are and making sure that the accountability across the board is something that how guys are going about the opportunity that's in front of us, and so it's been great for me to be able to have more time and more ability to address those needs, but also just to be a supportive piece for that with every position in each of our players.
Football in this facility, how much do you think that'll help, not only internally, but do you expect a pretty big return in recruiting as well?
No, I think it's going to be huge, and I'm grateful for the investment that's been made. You look at just the way things have gone, and even in, with the potential settlement coming up, and if you get to a cap, I mean, that's, that much more emphasis of, the resources that people will have in the development of players, and when you walk in the football only facility, I mean, it's going to be as nice as any place that in the country. And for us, it was a huge focus on the developmental aspect of the mind, the body, and the soul. And I think we hit an absolute home run with the facility. I mean, seeing that progression and knowing that we're going to be able to move into it this fall, it's huge. And as you take for players looking at, man, where can I go and know that I'm going to have every resource to grow and maximize the talent and ability that I have for their collegiate career, but also setting them up for their career beyond college. I think it's going to pay huge returns for guys that are currently on the team, but then also as people are looking in recruiting. I mean, just knowing that you got a facility like that is going to be really special.
How much easier is it now that, because 2 years ago you were just showing them the pictures on the wall and more what it's going to be like. Now it's actually looking pretty good. So what is it like? How much easier is it to point to it?
And that's now we've got to a point where everybody we're recruiting is going to get to benefit from it, and it's whether it's even a 1-year transfer that's coming in, knowing that they're that we'll be moving into it in the fall. I mean, there's going to be that immediate return for them, and so it's exciting. There's been a lot of sacrifice. I'm definitely ready for construction to be done with, and in all phases. To get every field back, to be able to have all of our space. I mean, but it's one of those things that it's the short-term sacrifice of the last year or year and a half. I mean, to be able to get a finished product that's going to be to the magnitude of what we have is really going to be special.
Were you really involved in the planning in terms of what you need?
Yeah, I mean that was something that when I came, there's been talk about a footballing facility a long time around Florida State, but coming in, it was something that I went through the entire first year, and there was multiple options of what we could or couldn't, might do, couldn't do, could do, but really being able to get to a point where what is it that can set us apart? What are the things that we can do that can really provide just a unique avenue for a player to come in that's going to help them grow in the ways that are desired for them, but also to be able to be at a place that they're going to be comfortable and have the space and the resources necessary to maximize their development. And like I said, I think that we were able to take a big picture view of that, and we're going to have some unique dynamics in that space that nobody in the country, and I don't think anybody in football really is going to have in the magnitude and some of the capabilities that we have, technology and how we're going to be able to utilize that. All good?
I'll go non-football real quick. You want to talk about Coach Almeida just a little bit? What you've seen from her? I know you're always out of the games. They just turned a triple play, by the way. I'll give you that.
Did they really?
Yeah. So
a triple play. Yeah. Beautiful. What do we see?
2-0 still.
Good. Lonnie is. She's special. She's a incredible human being. It's one of my favorite coaches I've ever interacted with. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge supporter of what they do and how they do it. And obviously, with what she's gone through throughout the course of the year, she came up to the offices. I guess probably 3 weeks right before they went out on the Cal trip. She came up to the office just to check in, and I mean, it was a blessing for me just to be able to see her. You get in the spring, for us, spring practice, they're in the season. We try to make it, my family, we try to make it out to any game that we can. But, seeing, the success and the way that team's rallied behind her, to see the strength that she has, just going through and her presence. But, she's an inspiration to everybody. And, for the coach, the woman, just the person that she is, impacting a community, a place. She's changed so many lives, throughout her leadership, and she's definitely an inspiration to everybody watching this team and seeing how she's embraced just an extremely challenging situation. All good?
All good.
Triple play, huh? Wow.